So, like I said, my ramblings are back. You know, these were supposed to be trial runs. Yeah, I need to comb my hair. I didn't take a shower this morning. I'm semi-retired. Like I said, I was working on an administrative issue that was consuming tons of my time. I took early retirement because I thought the issue was important enough that it needed to be addressed by the courts, that I shouldn't let it go. I guess I'm learning my lessons from the past that when you let things go, they only get worse, they don't get better. So I decided to do that. Now, as you can imagine, well, I do have a degree in electrical engineering, but no legal training whatsoever. I take a business law class as part of my lower division requirements. And I learned about bailments and stuff. That sounds like criminal, right? But it's not. That's where the court says, or the law says, the Constitution, if you say everything derived from the Constitution, says that um, the amount, the duty of care is in proportion or depends on the circumstances. And so if you do a favor for somebody, um, there's a different standard of care than if you're paying somebody to do something, is essentially what it boils down to. So that's the extent of my um, legal training. Plus, just growing up in the 70s, graduating from high school in the 70s, you know, they still taught civics back then. And you walk away with ideals of like due process and that sort of thing. And maybe it creates a sense of naivete, which I think some people take as arrogance because, well, I expect decisions of my government to be made on facts and testimony and not be done based on favors to other people or lack of favor to some people. It's just so against the ingrained education and upbringing that government doesn't function on the basis of due process, facts, and testimony as opposed to favor. Um, and so, as a result of that, not having the legal training but understanding my constitutional rights and not thinking this issue was just too important to me personally to let it go, um, I took early retirement. I live meagerly, but that's okay. This is important. I'm willing to make the sacrifice. But um, it really was an education in learning how to bring a complaint to civil court, to the circuit court, and then appealing the decision of the civil court to the appellate branch. Um, Tons of research. Almost all my waking hours were sometimes devoted to this. Um, and, you know, I rewrote this argument and that argument, just untold number of times. Growing up in the 70s, I prefer to see things in writing rather than on the computer screen, although I have adapted a lot more to using the screen. So what I ended up with is two giant garbage bags. That's what that is back there. That is full of printouts that I looked at, edited, and then retyped onto my computer, just trying to make sure that I was communicating what it was that I wanted to communicate. And the fact that I wanted to communicate was that the agency made an arbitrary decision. They didn't base it on the facts presented to them. In fact, they ignored them. And to me, that is so anti due process that it just confounded the hell out of me. And um, circuit court was practiced for the appellate court because my argument is much more defined, it's much more clear, it says what I want it to say. So at least when the appellate court decides, um, they won't be deciding it based on what I'm thinking. They're going to be deciding based what I put in writing. And I finally got it to the point that what I'm thinking is what I'm writing, is what I wrote actually. And so hopefully that turns out. So um, Yeah, it's been a long, hard struggle. It's not over. The appellate court hasn't decided. I haven't seen the response brief from the state, um, but I still have to probably face the notion of spending all my waking hours working on my reply to the response. But such is life. That's what I decided to undertake, and this is a cost to me. So all that stuff back there is the residuals of the amount of effort it took to adequately present my argument, to adequately fulfill the filing requirements of the court. And you know what? There's probably a lot of people out there who couldn't do this. And so maybe in that sense, that makes it just a little bit more important. Um, I'm not wealthy. Um, like I said, I'm living meagerly. But with what I saved and what residual income I have, I could scrape by, and I actually am in a position where, since I'm not giving up the opportunity to make $1 million, um, um, that I can live meagerly for another year if I have to, um, and have my argument decided on what it is I want it to be decided on. They may rule against me. They may rule for me. I'd be very surprised if they rule against me, because it's quite clear that they made an arbitrary decision. They should be looking at, you know, the facts and testimony that are presented. But, agencies make mistakes all the time. This one is a little out of the ordinary. And so, they might have swept it by without much thought. But, but at least I have the circuit court to go to, and then now the appellate court. So I decided that I am going to go ahead and put these ramblings, even though they're meant to be trial runs, so I don't lose the thoughts. Um, I decided I'm going to go ahead and publish these, and well, I need to go take a shower now and perhaps do the next one.